For 20 years, I kissed my husband every morning, pretending everything was perfect until one hidden notification revealed the truth I desperately concealed. What he discovered shattered our marriage completely. If you've ever lived behind a lie you couldn't escape, this confession is for you. My name is Isabella, I am 44 years old. And for 20 years I lived what everyone around me believed to be the perfect life. I was married to Eduardo, a kind and caring man who never forgot birthdays or anniversaries. And I was the mother of 2 wonderful children who always had warm meals waiting for them and perfect family photos framed around the house. To our neighbors, friends, and church community, I was the ideal wife, the graceful, smiling woman who seemed effortlessly happy. But behind the smiles, behind the perfectly pressed clothes and the immaculate house, there was a dark secret that I carried with me like a silent scream that no one could hear. It wasn't just about sex. It wasn't just about physical pleasure. It was deeper, darker, more complicated. I became addicted to feeling desired, powerful, and in control. It all started years ago as an innocent escape from loneliness and invisibility. Eduardo was constantly working, always busy, always tired. My life became a repetitive cycle of taking care of everyone else but feeling completely invisible. An aching emptiness grew inside me, a silent longing to feel alive again, to be more than a wife, more than a mother, to be seen as a woman. And that's how it all began. One night, out of curiosity and boredom, I downloaded an app designed for discreet dating. At first it was just conversation, harmless flirtations to fill the quiet hours. I told myself I would stop before it became a reality, but I didn't. Soon, those innocent conversations turned into secret hotel trysts, whispered phone calls, and stolen hours away from my family. Each encounter filled me with adrenaline, a rush of excitement that temporarily silenced the emptiness inside me. For those few hours, I wasn't invisible. I wasn't forgotten. I was powerful, desired, in control. I was someone else, someone vibrant and alive. But every time I went home, guilt consumed me. I looked at my husband, a man who loved me unconditionally, and my children who thought I was their hero, and I felt like a stranger in my own skin, and yet I couldn't stop. The validation was addictive, the thrill intoxicating. My double life became my dark sanctuary, an escape from the daily monotony that held me captive. I knew the risks. I knew it would destroy everything if I was found out, and yet I kept going back. My heart was in constant fear, but emotion overshadowed reason. Then came the day my carefully constructed world came crashing down. Eduardo discovered a backup of my old phone messages, photos, hotel reservations, all the hidden truths I had desperately hidden for 2 decades. He didn't scream, he didn't explode in anger. Instead, he looked at me with devastation and disbelief in his eyes and whispered words I will never forget. "Who are you?" In that moment, my heart shattered as I realized that the woman he loved, trusted, and cherished had never really existed. I was a stranger to him and even to myself. Eduardo filed for divorce, and suddenly my carefully constructed facade crumbled. Friends, family, everyone was stunned, unable to reconcile the woman they knew with the hidden reality. Shame and guilt nearly suffocated me. My secret was out, and I was left completely alone, drowning in the consequences of my own deception. I am writing this now because hiding has destroyed me. It has cost me my family, my marriage, and my very sense of self. If you are listening to this and living a double life, desperately trying to hold the lies together, trust MIT will fall apart eventually. My name is Isabella, and this is the truth behind my supposedly perfect life. If you recognize yourself in my story, please listen carefully. Stop pretending. Stop hiding. The lies will catch up with you. Choose honesty before your secrets. Choose exposure. This is my confession. This is my reality. Don't wait until it is yours. It didn't start with cheating. No, it started with something much quieter, much more dangerous. It started with loneliness, a kind of loneliness that doesn't scream but whispers. It seeps into the cracks of a marriage, slowly and quietly, until one day you realize you're not the same person you used to be. After our second child was born, life changed. Eduardo threw himself even more into his work, providing, building, securing our future. And I became a shell of the woman I once was. Days turned into nights. Laundry, homework, dinner, bedtime, rinse, repeat. I was the wife, the mother, the caregiver, the everything to everyone except myself. No one asked how I was. No one noticed when I started dressing differently or when I stopped altogether. I wasn't angry. I wasn't bitter. I was invisible. And then one night, I still feel in my bones, I sat alone in our bedroom scrolling through my phone. An ad popped up. It wasn't explicit. It wasn't provocative. Just curiosity. Meet new people. Anonymous. Safe. My thumb hovered over the download button. I told myself it was harmless. Just conversation, just someone to talk to. Someone who would ask, "How was your day?" And then I clicked. The first conversation was innocent, compliments, laughter, the kind of attention I hadn't felt in years. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't someone's wife. I wasn't someone's mother. I was just me. And being just me was intoxicating. The second conversation was more flirtatious. The third, even more daring. And with each message, something inside me that I hadn't even known existed. Awakened desire, not just physically motioning, the desire to be seen, to be noticed, to feel wanted. It wasn't long before someone asked, "Have you two met in person?" My heart raced. I told myself no, of course not. This wasn't who I was. I was just lonely, just bored. But the seed was planted, and once planted, it grows. A week later, I said yes. Coffee in a public place. No expectations, no pressure. But the way his eyes scanned me, the way he leaned in when I spoke, I hadn't felt that in years. I felt alive, seen, wanted. Coffee turned into dinner. Dinner into a kiss I swore I'd never allow, and that kiss became the gateway to something I could never completely close off again. I told myself it would be a one-time thing, just a slip-up, just a taste of something different. But that's the thing about lines. Once you cross them, they disappear. The guilt came of course, heavy, suffocating. I cried in the shower. I stared at Eduardo as he slept and wondered who I'd become. But as heavy as the guilt was, the desire was heavier. The next time didn't take months. It took days, then hours. Then it became routine, a secret life born of loneliness, fueled by validation and growing in the shadows of a marriage that seemed perfect on the outside but was slowly dying on the inside. And I kept telling myself over and over again, I'm still a good wife. I still cook, I still clean, I still love him, but deep down, I knew. Something had cracked, something had broken. And from that first innocent conversation, there was no going back. At first it was manageable, so I told myself, just an occasional encounter, a quick escape, a whiff of something forbidden, before returning to the life where everyone saw me as the perfect wife and mother. But slowly, the lines between escape and existence began to blur. What had started as sporadic contact became routine. I created a second phone, a number Eduardo didn't know existed. A device that lived in the back of my closet, turned off whenever I was home, ringing only when I was her, the other me. The me no one knew. The me that belonged to no one except the desires of strangers. I created secret profiles, different names, different photos, different cities. A carefully curated fantasy version of myself, designed for one thing, to be desired, to be wanted, to be consumed. Some of the men were married, some were divorced, some were just looking for what I was offering, no strings attached, no love, no questions asked. It was never about money. Even when some offered, sometimes insisted, it wasn't the money that hooked me, it was the look in their eyes, the way their hands shook when they touched me, the whispered words, "You're everything I've ever fantasized about." The intoxicating power of knowing that, in those moments, I was their addiction, their escape, their obsession, and for a little while it filled the void inside me. During the day, I wore my mask perfectly, packing snacks, attending parent-teacher conferences, smiling at church, cooking dinner, kissing Eduardo goodnight. And then, when the house was quiet, when the lights were off, I became her. Perfume, sprayed in places no one else had seen. Dresses Eduardo had never seen. Lingerie bought with money I told him was for groceries. Keys in hand, hotel rooms booked under fake names, or sometimes a stranger's apartment. The double life became normal, comfortable even. I knew which lies worked, which excuses made sense. I'd create entire alibis weeks in advance. And every time I said, "This is the last time," a part of me meant it. Seriously, I wanted it to be true. I'd come home, shower to get rid of the other person's scent, lie down next to Eduardo, and feel the guilt, like a weight crushing my chest. I'd cry silently, telling myself, never again, never again. But the guilt never overcame the desire, because as empty as it made me, the emptiness of stopping was worse. It wasn't about sex anymore. It was about control. About proving to myself that I still mattered, that someone still noticed that I wasn't invisible. But the truth, with every encounter, I became more invisible to myself. I stopped recognizing the woman staring back at me in the mirror. I didn't know who I was without the texts, the constant pings, the anticipation of the next encounter. Even mundane things, dropping the kids off at school, seeing Eduardo, family gatherings felt empty, fake, because the version of me they loved wasn't real. And the saddest part, I started to love the fake version more than the real one. The fake me was seen, she was wanted, she was alive. But with every high came a deeper crash. Every wish fulfilled opened a bigger void. I'd stare at Eduardo across the dinner table, wondering how he didn't see it. How he didn't feel the miles growing between us, even when we sat just inches apart. I wanted him to notice, to ask, to fight for me. But he didn't. Or maybe, he trusted me so blindly that the thought never crossed his mind. That made it worse. So much worse. Because while I was busy seeking validation from strangers, the man who truly loved me was sitting right there, and I was drifting further and further away from him, from myself, from the life we'd built. The scariest part wasn't that I couldn't stop. The scariest part was, I didn't want to. It happened on a Tuesday. A regular Tuesday. Eduardo was trying to retrieve some old family photos from an old backup on his phone, pictures of our kids when they were little, on vacation, on birthdays. Completely innocent, completely random. He wasn't looking for anything. He wasn't suspicious. He was just being himself. The man who loved capturing memories. But when he opened the backup folder, there were files that didn't belong. Files that shouldn't be there. Screenshots, conversations, names, hotel confirmations, payment transfers, photos, some with my face on them, some carefully cropped, but unmistakably mine. A version of me he'd never seen. A version of me that was never meant for his eyes. I didn't hear him open them. I didn't hear the sigh. I didn't hear anything, but I felt it. When I walked into the living room, the air was different. Heavy, thick, suffocating. Eduardo was sitting on the edge of the couch, elbows on his knees, phone in his hand. His hands didn't shake, but his soul did. When he looked at me, I knew. I knew without a word that it was over. Completely, irreversibly over. He didn't yell. He didn't curse. He didn't throw things or demand explanations. That would have been easier. Anger would have been easier. But instead, he just stared at me. His eyes were empty, no, not empty. Filled with something worse than anger, disbelief, betrayal, pain, and then he asked. 3 words that cut through my entire existence. Who are you? I opened my mouth. To deny, to explain, to blame it on loneliness, to say it wasn't what it seemed, but the words died, because it was exactly what it seemed. Every text, every hotel reservation, every photo, every lie, documented, undeniable. All the years I thought I was careful and done by a simple backup I'd forgotten existed. I tried. God, I tried. Asterisk, it's not what you think. Asterisk, it's not quite like that. Asterisk, it didn't mean anything. But how do you explain 20 years of a life you didn't even know you were living? How do you downplay screenshots? With timestamps that perfectly line up with dates you canceled, or business trips that were nothing more than carefully disguised weekends of cheating? His silence was louder than any scream. Louder than any slap, any punch, any fight. And then, the words that broke me more than anything else ever could. Asterisk, I don't even think I really knew you. And in that moment, neither did I, because, the truth is, I had become 2 different women. One who folded laundry, made dinner, smiled at school events, and one who disappeared into hotel rooms, answered strangers' texts, and lived for the thrill of being wanted. And now, both versions were shattered because one was a lie, and the other was a woman who didn't know how to exist without the lie. I stood there frozen. My mouth opening, closing, trying to find anything to fix it, but there was nothing left. No explanation, no excuse, no defense. Eduardo stood up. He walked past me. He didn't touch me. He didn't look back. He walked to his room. He packed a bag in silence. And before he closed the door, all he said was, I don't know who you are, and I don't think I ever did. And then, he was gone, just like that. 20 years. Gone. Eduardo left that night. No shouting, no chaos, just silence. A silence louder than anything I'd ever heard in my life. I stood there staring at the closed door, feeling like the oxygen had been sucked out of the room. And it wasn't just the end of a marriage. It was the death of everything I'd pretended to be. The next morning he didn't come back. He didn't text. He didn't call. His side of the bed remained cold. His toothbrush was gone. His shoes by the door gone. His presence, that comforting presence I'd always taken for granted, gone. The kids didn't know the details, but they felt it. I could see it in their eyes, in the questions they didn't ask but wanted to ask. Where's Daddy? Why won't he come home? Why is Mommy crying in the kitchen when she thinks we're not looking? I made excuses. Business trip, work, stress, but the kids know, they always know. And the house became unbearable, silent, heavy, suffocating. My family started to notice too, my sister asking why Eduardo wasn't at Sunday lunch, my mother noticing the strain in my voice, the distance, the hollowness in my answers, friends pulling away, whispering when they thought I wasn't listening. The walls started to close in, because once a lie breaks, it doesn't stop, it spreads. And with each passing day, I felt pieces of myself disintegrating. I lost the man who loved me really, loved me not because he wasn't enough, but because I convinced myself he wasn't. I lost the trust I'd spent 2 decades building. I lost the respect not just from him but from myself. I couldn't look in the mirror without seeing the destruction I'd caused. And here's the cruelest part, it was never about men, it was never about sex, it was never about money or attention. It was about something much darker, a hole inside me that no amount of validation could fill, a void that not 1,000 hands on my skin could touch. I thought I was in control, I thought I was powerful, but the truth? I was a prisoner, trapped by my own need to be seen, and never realizing that the person I needed to see me most was me. Now I sit in this house alone. The pictures on the wall mocking me, the memories of family vacations, birthdays, Christmas mornings, all poisoned by the knowledge of what I've destroyed. Peace. I don't know what that feels like anymore, because even in the silence, the war rages on, inside my chest, inside my head, a constant echo of the same question Eduardo asked when he left. Asterisk, who are you? And the truth is, I still don't know. The night Eduardo left, something inside me broke. But maybe I needed to. Maybe it was the only way I could be forced to look at the wreckage I had become. The next morning I deleted everything, every profile, every app, every hidden number. Gone, like it had never existed. But the truth, it did, and no amount of erasing could erase the scars it had left on me or the man I had destroyed. I sat on the floor of my bathroom, holding that second phone, the phone that held years of secrets, and before I turned it off for the last time, I stared at my reflection on the black screen, and I hated it. I hated what I had become. I hated the version of me that needed strangers to feel alive. But beneath the hate, there was fear, because I realized something terrifying. I didn't know how to exist without it. I didn't know who I was without the pings, the notifications, the messages reminding me that I was wanted, that I was desirable, that I mattered. That was the real addiction, not the men, not the meetings, not the physicality. It was the feeling of being wanted, seen. And now, I was facing a life where no one was watching anymore. No one was chasing. No one was validating. Just ... me, alone with myself. And that was the scariest thing of all. I found a therapist. I walked into her office and sat there for 5 solid minutes, unable to speak. And when the words finally came out, they came out like vomit. Ugly, raw, unfiltered. I've messed up. And I don't know how to stop being this version of me. She didn't judge me. She didn't waver. She just said something that destroyed me in a different way. You don't have to stop being someone else. You have to learn to be yourself. For once, I started going to group meetings. Women like me. Women you'd never suspect. Mothers, wives, professionals. And for once, I wasn't faking. I wasn't lying. Asterisk, I was showing up as me, broken, ashamed, lost, but real. Some days I wake up and feel strong. Like maybe I'm healing. Maybe I'm learning to love myself without needing the gaze of strangers to confirm my worth. Other days I scroll, I search. I flirt with the idea of going back, of reopening profiles, of being her again, the version of me who felt powerful. But I'm not, because now I know where that road leads. It leads to silence, 2 empty beds, 2 empty victories that end in losing everything that truly matters. The desire doesn't go away, it lingers, like an old wound that still hurts when it rains. But the difference now, I'm not running from it. I'm facing it. I'm learning slowly and painfully to be someone who is enough. For herself, will I ever get there completely? I don't know. Seriously, no. But for the first time in 20 years, I'm not lying. If you're reading this thinking it's not that serious, it's just flirting. It's just validation. It's just a little escape. I beg you, stop lying to yourself. That's exactly how it starts. Harmless, small, controlled. Until one day it's not anymore. Until one day, you look in the mirror and realize that the person staring back is no longer someone you recognize. You lose pieces of yourself, one secret at a time. A deleted message here, a hidden photo there, a deleted browser history, an innocent app. A conversation that seems like nothing until it becomes something, until it becomes everything. You think you're in control. You think you're smarter than the consequences. You tell yourself no one will ever know. But let me tell you the truth. They always do. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but secrets have heartbeats. They grow, they breathe, they multiply, and eventually they scream so loudly that the whole world hears them. I thought I was doing it. I thought I was balancing both Liv's the perfect wife and the woman seeking validation in the shadows. But I wasn't balancing anything. I was slowly bleeding my own soul dry. And when the truth came out, it wasn't just my marriage that was over. It was my peace, my dignity, my identity. If you're living like this right now, if you're hiding, faking, sneaking, pretending, hear me when I say this, you didn't get away with it. You're already paying the price. You're paying for it every day you wake up feeling like a fraud. Every night you lie in bed next to someone who doesn't know they're sharing their space with a stranger. Every fake smile, every nervous glance when your phone lights up. Every empty I love you that tastes like poison on your tongue. I'm not here to shame you. God knows I've lived through enough shame for both of us. I'm here to say, it doesn't have to end like mine did. You don't have to lose everything before you finally tell the truth, first to yourself, then to others. Seek help. Find someone who won't judge you but who will hold you accountable. Join a group. Talk to someone. Say out loud the words you've only whispered in the dark. I have a problem. I'm living a lie. I don't know how to stop. Because the second you do that, the monster that feeds on your silence begins to shrink. The scariest thing isn't being exposed. The scariest thing is waking up one day and realizing you've exposed yourself to a life that means absolutely nothing because you burned it all down. Don't wait until that happens. Don't wait until your family is gone, until your marriage is a pile of ashes, until you're sitting alone in a room recording an audio like this, wishing you could go back in time. You still can right now. This is your warning and maybe your invitation. This was my confession, raw, ugly, real. I'm not sharing this for you to judge me. I'm sharing it because I know I'm not the only one who's lived a double life. I know I'm not the only one who's smiled on the outside while falling apart on the inside. You may not be living the exact same story I've lived, but I bet you fought invisible wars too. You've fought guilt, shame, loneliness. You've looked in the mirror and asked yourself, who am I really? If you've ever felt this space is for you here. No one judges you. Here, we listen, we share, we heal together. If you've ever carried a secret that was heavier than your own heart, comment, share your story. Tell me where you're watching from. You're not alone. This channel, this community, is our shelter. A place for broken people trying to become whole again. A place where pain turns into understanding, where shame turns into freedom. I'm Isabella. This is my truth. Now I ask you, what is yours? Leave a comment. With the challenge you are facing or that you have overcome, never forget that your story can help heal others. Keep watching this video that is appearing on your screen.